What's up, losers? Today I'm back with some more r/fatlogic shenanigans. Taking a look at a couple of intriguing fat acceptance posts, sharing my thoughts on them, and having plenty of giggles along the way. This is episode 124 in the fatlogic series. And I'm eager to hear what new revelations the fat activists have got for us this time. So without further delay, let's get into it.
Somewhere along the way, the person in front of me had started chanting, "Correlation isn't causation, correlation isn't causation." When we reached the front, we fanned out, standing right in front of the lectern, in plain sight of every single person in that hall. We, a group of fat people, danced in front of this group of obesity researchers to the music. It felt scary and awkward, but also glorious and amazing. At no point during any of this did the keynote address stop. The beats of fat-affirming music competed with his unceasing, monotone grind, the soundtrack of conflict.
Ha ha ha, what? This is too much, man. There's no way this can be real. Right, it's got to be some fat activist's sad fanfic. I refuse to believe that this is something that actually happened. I mean, they started dancing, really, and the speaker just went on with their speech, completely ignoring the whole thing. I'm not buying it, it's just too silly to comprehend. Also, where did the music come from? Did one of the fat dancers pull a boombox out of their belly button or something? This story's got more holes in it than a slice of Swiss cheese. Still, provided that this was written by a fat activist, and not a skillful troll, it does say something about the whole fat activist mindset, doesn't it? Like, they really think that they're brave warriors, standing up to society's oppression, and not a band of delusional weirdos, making giant fools of themselves for all the world to see. It's beyond embarrassing. If one of my family members participated in something like this, or even just wrote about it, and posted it online, I'd probably have to disown 'em, haha. Because at a certain point you've got to look out for your own dignity. And this simply ain't it. It also says something about the unbelievable arrogance these fat activists possess. That they think that they know more about obesity and its risks than actual obesity researchers, and that these researchers just don't understand how basic statistics work. Like, you don't need to tell them that correlation doesn't equal causation. For frick's sake, they get it, they know what they're doing, and they're still telling you that there's a problem. So maybe instead of chanting and dancing, you could shut up and listen for once. I'm begging you. All in all, I have a hard time believing that this story actually played out as described. But either way, the story is hilarious, and it embodies the spirit of fat activism beautifully. So I think it was definitely worth reading. And I hope you had as much fun with it as I did. Moving on.
Do you think if you lost weight, you would lose your audience? Just curious. I watch because I enjoy your content.
I'm honestly not sure. I would hope not, but I also would understand. Seeing other people lose weight can be triggering. So many of us have grown up being told over and over again that being thin is good, and being fat is bad. Being told we are worthless because we are overweight. It's hard seeing others lose weight, because it brings a lot of those feelings back up. I can say while I do want to lose some weight, I personally never want to be thin. I like being plus size. I like my curves. I like how soft and cushy I am. I just want to feel physically in less pain, and have a bit more mobility.
Man, this one is just sad. Imagine being part of a community so toxic that you have to choose between your right to be comfortable and healthy and your career, because your fans will take any attempt at weight loss on your part as a personal betrayal, and cast you aside without a second thought. I honestly wouldn't wish such a choice upon anyone, not even someone like this, who undoubtedly contributed to the situation through their promotion of fat-positive messaging. It's just a terrible situation all round. There's a lot, and I mean a lot, that I take issue with in fat acceptance. But the way the movement treats people, and public figures in particular, who lose weight, has to be just about the worst. I mean, for a community that is supposed to promote acceptance, positivity, and personal liberation, the degree of control that fat activists try to exert over other people's diet and lifestyle choices, and the harsh treatment they give to those who refuse to comply, are utterly mind-blowing. Like, seriously, what could be more backwards than bullying people into staying fat, and enduring discomfort and poor health, just so that you can feel better about your own self-destructive tendencies? It's sick, and the fact that this cruelty is cloaked in the self-righteous language of body positivity and fat acceptance makes me sick too. So to the fat activists of the world, if you're fat, and you don't want to lose weight, then that's your right, but please stop taking ownership of other people's lives, and telling them what they can and can't do with their bodies, even if they themselves voice support for your ideas. People can always change their minds, and nobody should ever be punished for prioritizing their health. It's not fair to expect others to bear the weight of your self-worth. And relying on such external validation is bound to end in disappointment regardless. So basically, chill out, let other people live their lives, and deal with your own issues directly, not by proxy. My final comment on this post is kinda unrelated to what I've said so far, but I just wanted to respond briefly to the part where the poster says that they like their curves, and how soft and cushy they are, by pointing out that there's a large gulf between morbid obesity and bony angularity. Like, you can still be curvy and soft, while being at a healthy, or more or less healthy weight. The idea that women losing weight inevitably means sacrificing their curves is not true, and I wish people wouldn't frame this as an either-or. Thin women still have curves. They just don't have tons of excess fat and avoidable health issues, so it's really not worth sacrificing everything at that particular altar, if you ask me, at least.
It's a freaking miracle that any fat person, ever in history, has voluntarily gone to the doctor, or as I like to call it, gone in for formal, overpriced, institutionalized shaming. But yeah, right, weight stigma and thin privilege don't exist.
Okay, so, when I read through this post the first time, something about it made me chuckle, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. After all, this kind of over-the-top whining about doctors is pretty par for the course among fat activists. And it's far from the craziest example I've ever seen. After a little further consideration, though, I was able to figure out why I found it so funny. This might be a bit hard to explain, so bear with me, but it's the whole structure of the post that makes it such a hilariously inept little piece of messaging. The poster declares that they, quote, like to call going to the doctor all of these horrible things, but then follows this up with, yeah right, weight stigma and thin privilege don't exist. The reason this doesn't work is because typically, such a yeah right sentence would follow on from the post providing compelling evidence for the counterclaim. In this case, evidence that weight stigma and thin privilege do in fact exist, and the function of the sarcastic yeah right is to ridicule opponents of the claim for holding their untenable position against the weight of this incontrovertible evidence. But in this case, the only evidence that has been provided is that the poster likes to call doctor visits all of these things. Which is to say, there isn't any evidence at all, and the poster is, in effect, ridiculing you for not accepting their own random opinions as gospel, based on absolutely nothing. It'd be like if I said, I like to call John Lennon the most talented Beatle, but yeah right, Paul McCartney is more talented. It just doesn't work, right? If I wanted to make fun of you for your McCartney preference, I'd have to actually give a reason why Lennon is superior. The mere fact of your disagreement with me is not embarrassing in and of itself, because I'm not the sole arbiter of taste. And neither is this fat activist. The only difference between us, then, is that I understand the limits of my authority in this regard. And they, evidently, do not. Sorry if that was boring or difficult to follow, or if it was self-evident and didn't require such a painstaking explanation. I just find the ways language can be used, and arguments structured, interesting, and I figured I might as well share my thoughts. Setting all of that aside though, I think the reason why most fat people go to the doctor is because they aren't delusional enough to pretend that there's nothing wrong with their weight, or thin-skinned enough to take personal offense to professional medical advice. Because as much as fat activists might want to equate basic observations about a patient's weight, or recommendations of weight loss, to shaming, they are not the same thing. And if someone has even a morsel of maturity and humility, they can take it all in their stride, without losing their mind over it like a child. The real question that remains unanswered is why so many fat activists continue to go in for doctor's appointments, when they clearly know all there is to know already. I mean, for a community that apparently derives no value from the corrupt, hateful words of crooked diet culture doctors, fat activists seem to spend a remarkable amount of time in doctors' offices. More than your average thin person, that's for sure. It's almost like the hollow words of haze charlatans, and the vapid affirmation of fat acceptance gurus, only go so far, and at a certain point, obesity catches up with people one way or another, and medical intervention becomes unavoidable, even if a realistic outlook remains too much to ask for. Or maybe these people just like getting into fights with the doctors, angrily storming out, and raging about it online, because they're attention seekers and drama queens. That's another possibility. Who can really say? Whatever it is, I must once again express my respect and admiration for the doctors who have to deal with such types. God bless you guys. I'm sure glad it isn't me. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed reading these posts with me, and that you found my commentary useful in some way. What do you think? Is it cringy to interrupt a conference with your goofy-ass dance moves? Is it weird to follow a content creator only on the condition that they remain fat? Is going to the doctor formal, overpriced, institutionalized shaming? Who is your favorite Beatle? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll show up to your wedding and/or funeral with a fat activist dance troupe and ruin the whole ceremony. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.